O.C.G, and I'm here playing Enotria, the last song. Start over for the last time, finally found my good build. Okay, I'm live now. Oh. Hey, I think you really like this game, Sigma. This is fucking great. And this, oh, I love this music. It is, but I still think you'll like it. It's set in the world of Italian folklore. In the beginning, there was silence. Then came the first note. A primordial sound with no one to hear. Music birthed itself as a mirror of reality. And so, music created men to listen to itself. In turn, they invented arts to celebrate the mysteries of creation. They gave life to their own gods and legends. The gods, as flawed as their creators, fell victim to the darker impulses inherent in mankind. Humanity climbed atop a mountain made of fallen gods and declared itself the peak. A rebellious few discovered the power of the arts to shape reality according to their will. Pulcinella, the minstrel of change. Arlecchino, the king of the theater. Captain Spaventa, the son of Meridiana. Pantalone, the merchant of destinies. Balanzone, the herald of knowledge. Colombiana, the saint of the stage. Yeah. The authors drafted the Carnavaccio, a script of the stage is the very world. Hey Alex, it narrates the perfect world they envisioned, and thus the Carnavaccio gripped the world and its creatures in eternal stagnation, trapping all behind a mask in its eternal role. In a world of masks, only one without a role can choose their destiny, and free this world from stagnation. This game's got a lot of really cool, unique stuff going for it. It's made by a small team on a tight budget, but I really like it.
The tree of change bears fruits.
And I fucking love its art style a lot.
Awaken, maskless one. The stage is set.
I love the heck of it right now. Like, just to this first cave to show you why I fucking love this game's aesthetic. That is true. This game has a heart and spirit in spades. I guess you're just not gonna take a fucking no for an answer, huh? Yeah, I agree. It's not about budget. I love action. Their follow-up game is also really good. If you haven't played it, Flintlock, I really enjoyed that too. Come on. Really? Normally I could parry him way better. Oh well. Why were you labeled as a Zelda fanatic? Not that there's any such thing. It's impossible to love Zelda too much. It's a physical impossibility. Yeah, welcome to YouTube, unfortunately. You're not allowed to like things on the internet. You have to hate everything. My problem with Tears of the Kingdom, and it's not really a problem, it's just a thing and people's problem, they expected there was going to be a larger leap. It was like 7 years between games, or 6, and people expected a major leap, and not more Breath of the Wild. Like, obviously it adds a lot, it changes a lot, but it's still very much more Breath of the Wild. I love it, I think it's a good game, but people expected it to be like a new era of Zelda, and it wasn't. Yeah. Well, it's just like if you can kind of understand people's perspective a little bit, because if you think about it, like the gap of 6 years was the same length between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild, so people were just expecting that kind of leap. My main issue with Tears of the Kingdom is they didn't really push the graphics all that much. I thought they were going to push the graphics a lot harder because Breath of the Wild at its heart was mainly a Wii U game with some Switch bells and whistles. So I thought the graphics would look a lot better on Switch now that it was a Switch-only game, and they didn't improve the graphics as much as I thought. I feel like Nintendo's gotten kind of lazy on that. But I did like Tears of the Kingdom. I did buy it at launch. And I do love the world and what they've done and all the stuff they've added. I just think people expected it to be the next era of Zelda. Because usually when Zelda takes so long to release, it's a new era, you know? 6 years. Yeah. And well, it can't please everybody. What I really love about this game, besides the world, I really love the world in this game, is you have... Yeah. I love the unique class system in this game. You have different masks, and each mask has different stats, can have different loadouts, can have a different build, and you can have 3 at once and swap between them. So you can customize each mask with different skills. Each mask can have 4 hotbar abilities that are like an RPG that charge up by hitting people. Each mask can have 2 weapons. So you can basically have 3 masks with 6 weapons. Swap, swap, swap. And it's like changing classes on the fly instantly. And that's really cool. And you don't really see that in a lot of games do that. I absolutely love this art style. I really do. Yeah. My main problem with Breath of the Wild, and something that really kind of upsets me, well, it's a personal thing. I really miss the traditional Zelda dungeons. Like, the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom are good, They definitely step up from Breath of the Wild. I thought Breath of the Wild's main dungeons were kind of really underwhelming. The shrines are good, but the main dungeons I thought kind of sucked. If they could just combine the open world of Tears of the Kingdom, or open world like Tears of the Kingdom, with the traditional Zelda dungeons, I think it would be the perfect game. Yeah. This is an optional enemy. That's why he's so fucking tough. Yeah. Well, it just... there's something special about the dungeons in the classic Zelda games, okay? Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, especially Twilight Princess. I love the dungeons in them so much. Like Arbiter's Ground, Snow Peak Ruins are fucking amazing dungeons. There's nothing quite like a Zelda dungeon. And while I love the open world and the quest freedom and the shrines, I really miss that feeling in the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Oh shit, I gotta... okay, I gotta hook my phone up and my charger on my controller. Give me a second, sorry. You know, and if you have a series that's as long-running as Zelda is, and you get a massive change, it's just going to cause, you know, disagreements in the fandom, unfortunately. Plus, I gotta be honest with you, I know a lot of people like her, But I personally find the Breath of the Wild Zelda and Tears of the Kingdom Zelda to be the most fucking annoying Zelda in all of them. I find her to be impetuous, bratty, and shitty.
Is there no joy in a little surrounded by an empty grave atop which summer shade dies?
Yeah, that is true. She is better in Tears of the Kingdom. But in Breath of the Wild, honestly, you could say she causes pretty much everything that happens. Everyone's telling her, hey, Zelda, you need to really get up on your sage shit. Because Ganon's going to come back and you got to stop him. And no, Dad, I know better. I'm going to do this. And then Ganon comes back, then she learns her sage shit and stops him or holds him at bay. And it's like, well, if you had done this beforehand, maybe all of Hyrule would have fucking died. Like, you can pretty much say the entire plot of Breath of the Wild is your dad saying, I told you so, and being right.
And here I thought the darkest
Ah, damn it. Oh, I'm right there. It's no big deal. Da-da-da-da. One thing I also really love in this game is you can actually parry projectiles back at the center and stun them, which, considering how much I hate fucking archers in these games, fills me with joy. Like, nah, bitch, not today. You thought nobody could reach you on your little perch with your little bow, huh? Well, today, you're gonna find out you fucked with the wrong guy.
simply wonderful!
Yeah, Rise of the Ronin is really great. I just, like I said, I wish they would get the performance ironed out. It's really hard for me to enjoy a game that has frame rate problems. And there's not like, oh, you can't reach 60, so you can play 30. Even if you play it on the 30 FPS modes, it runs underneath 30. You know what I mean? Like, there's no mode on the game that runs stably. And yeah, it is true. People compared it to fucking Ghost of Tsushima, when that was never fair. If you knew anything about Koei Tecmo, you knew they weren't gonna match that, as people had unreal expectations. That's my thing. I don't care about the graphics. I just care about the fact that there's like no smooth way to play it. Does not matter what frame rate mode you use, it is lagging below the intended target. And that's what really got to me. I like the world, I like the story. It's just like lag. Nothing breaks my immersion in the game than lag, and that game is like constantly dipping. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even like comparing the two. They're so different. They're not even really the same genre of game, you know? Different time period, different point, different kind of open world, different kind of focus. One is a fixed character, the other is a blank slate character. Like, I like them both for different reasons. People just saw that it was a Sony first-party game. People just saw that it was a Sony exclusive and assumed it was a first-party game. So they were expecting it to be on par with Sony's other first-party games, and it just wasn't. Just because it's a PS5 exclusive doesn't mean it was made by Sony. It was made by Koei Tecmo, and they've never had the budget that Sony does. Oh, fuck. Oh, well. So, they had their expectations wrong. I knew going in it wasn't going to be a graphical powerhouse, so... That's the only thing that really bothered me, was the frame rate. I like the game. And it's refreshing to see a game that's not in Indo period Japan. Japan has such a rich history, and yet people act like the only period is Indo. You know, Bakumatsu is a very underrepresented time period in Japanese history, so it was nice to see it cover it. The only other game I can think of that covers that time period is Ishin. So there's like two, so... And I really like the juxtaposition of the Eastern culture meets the Western. So like you'll see traditional Japanese townhouses next to a colonial building. Yeah. Yeah, I can see you think that. I honestly, for what it was, I thought it was perfect. I just think at the time, I think it's about managing your expectations. I think you went into it expecting it to be one type of game and it was another. But I think if you count it as an open world stealth game, an open world stealth RPG, I think that it does that fucking fantastic. Honestly, Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games ever. Aw, fucking railing blocked my shot. Lame. I don't really agree with that. The world has a ton of variety in it. There's the shrines, there's the bandit forts, there's the mountains to climb. There's a bunch of side quests in it, really good side quests. So, I mean, what else are they supposed to fill the world with? Maybe it doesn't have a lot of dense urban areas, but in real life, Tsushima Island is kind of backwater to begin with. So I didn't expect it to have a lot of urban centers. And the towns they do have are cool, and I really love the fact that you can go into them, and it's pretty much every building's iterable.
City of actors. Oh, what's left of it?
But, you know, to each their own. Like I said, I personally loved it. And honestly, I also felt like a lot of the side activities in Rise of the Ronin were just as repetitive. That game really suffered from just kind of copy-pasting like shit. I mean, it basically falls down to the same thing. Go to an area, clear bandit camp, capture the cats. Like, it has the same types of locations. So I could say that Rise of the Ronin suffers from that problem as well. I will agree that it can get repetitive at times, but like I said, I still loved it. It does a fantastic, and it does a great job of making all those activities worthwhile. The problem with a lot of open world games is that they have these activities. And there's nothing wrong with the activities. There's nothing wrong with having bandit hideouts, you know, because you need something to fight in the open world. There's nothing wrong with having all these activities, but you have to make them worthwhile to do, and you have to make them varied. A lot of games will have bandit hideouts or whatever, and they'll just be the same layout for each one, copy-pasted, and you won't get a worthwhile reward for doing it. Ghost of Tsushima, every single activity that you do in the world gives you dividends and gives you rewards. The bandit quests give you a ton of XP and supplies. Clears out the area and it fogs out the map. Each bandit camp is completely unique. None of them are copied and pasted. None of them. Each fox gives you talismans. Each shrine gives you a unique thing. Like, everything that you do in Ghost of Tsushima gives you appropriate rewards, and the game manages to do something very difficult, which is to keep the upgrades coming at a reasonable pace. A lot of games, particularly RPGs, will do something that I don't like, which is where they'll start out the upgrades fast, and then they'll slow down exponentially. So, like, you get a lot of upgrades, and it's like, oh, that's great, and then you spend, like, the next part of the game getting upgrades at a snail's pace. In Ghost of Tsushima, they did a fantastic job at consistently giving you upgrades. You got a new toy, a new ability, a new skill, a new sword upgrade, constantly, gradually, so that you were never far away from getting something new. And, the upgrades were impactful. Yeah, but see, that's kind of the thing. That's kind of the point of the combat system, is to have to switch on the fly. And they all have different characteristics. You know, and Ghost of Tsushima really, really does make you feel that escalation of power. You go from feeling like you're just a normal samurai to a fucking legend by the end. And feeling that growth is awesome. Plus, I really like Jin. Jin Sakai's gotta be one of my favorite video game characters. Seeing how he's trying to do the right thing for his people, even though it means he'll get exiled. Seeing his struggles with what needs to be done and what he's been raised around, seeing how his abandonment issues with his dad, his love for his uncle, the different relationships he has with his people. He's a really, really rich character. And he undergoes a tremendous change throughout the game, and it would have been easy to make that come off as too fast or too slow, but they convincingly made you feel his arc. And they go out of the way to say that just because he doesn't follow the code of the samurai, he still has a code. He's not just a fucking brigand. And all of the characters that you hang out with are fantastic. Like, I really loved all of the existing cast. I like the stealth. I love being able to do the stealth chain kills. It definitely wasn't as hard as other games like that, but it wasn't meant to be a hard game like that, you know what I'm saying? I don't even think that Ghost of Tsushima and Rise of the Ronin should have been compared to each other anyway. They're both so vastly different games that go for so many different things that it's, like I said, I don't even like comparing them. But, you know, they're both Sony exclusives with a Japanese setting, so I guess it was bound to happen one way or another. Plus, you also have to think about it in terms of Ghost of Tsushima is the first game that Sucker Punch has ever done like that. So they were learning how to do an RPG. Whereas Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja had been building upon that foundation for over a decade now, through many, many games. So, honestly, Ghost of Tsushima was Sucker Punch's first real go. Like I said, I honestly love Ghost. I have very few complaints with it. I loved it for what it was. The world, the story, the characters, the progression systems. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it was a fantastic game. And considering that fucking Sucker Punch had never done an RPG, had never done melee combat in a game like that, and they delivered that, it was fantastic. And I think they're only going to grow and build from there. You know, you're comparing it to Rise of the Ronin to Team Ninja, but Team Ninja has been building on that combat for ages, before even Neho. You could honestly say that the core of Neho and Wolong and Rise of the Ronin's combat comes from Ninja Gaiden in 2004. So basically, Team Ninja has been building on this type of combat, that type of experience for 20 years. Through multiple console generations. Of course their gameplay is going to be more refined. That's like what they do. This is like, Sucker Punch is literally like first crack at it. They've never made a type of game like that before. I mean, the game they did before Ghost of Tsushima was infamous. You couldn't be a more different genre in game. So, in terms of like the nitty gritty aspects of it, yeah, obviously it's definitely a more complicated game. But like I said, they've just been doing it for so much longer, and that's what they do. Like, that's their wheelhouse. And I can understand what you mean. You know, you like simulation, you like all these details. That's not really what Ghost of Tsushima was either. It's meant to be the fantasy of a samurai. Like, it's not like a literal, this is what Tsushima is actually like. It's meant to be like a, almost like, it borders the line between fantasy and reality. It's like Japan, but like an idealized, almost fantasy-esque version of Japan. So it was never meant to be simulation. It's almost about that power fantasy. You know, that is one aspect that And when it comes to the characters, I like the character. Okay, so my problem with Rise of the Ronin story is, I'm trying to figure out how to put it. I like the story in Rise of the Ronin, okay? But, let me see, hold on. Okay, my problem with Rise of the Ronin story is that, one, it expects for you to know a lot about the history of the conflict, the Bakumatsu. It expects you to know a lot about Bakumatsu, and doesn't really hold your hand and explain stuff. So if you're not familiar with the conflict, which a lot of people aren't, you're not gonna understand what the fuck is going on. When I first played Rise of the Ronin, I had to look up a lot of shit. And it also, your choices matter, but then they don't. Because they're coming into a conflict that's already decided by history, so in Rise of the Ronin, you can go for pre-unification or anti-unification, you know, separatist or unificationist or whatever, but while your choices on who you side with are going to change some of it, the broad strokes remain the same. It doesn't matter who you side with. All of the main story bits play out the same. And that to me was disappointing, although I understand why they did that because they based it on real history. It doesn't matter what side you choose, the same people are going to win in the end. The same basic battles are going to happen. The conflict is going to get resolved, so it mostly just changes the people you hang out with, which there is difference. You are hanging out with different characters, you're making different social links, but you're not actually changing the outcome. You know? And that's the problem with having a branching story that's set in his history. Because I personally like the pro-unification. I don't like the other people's, the rebels' isolationist policies. I really don't. And I found their side to be kind of racist. Because they literally blame all of the sickness and plague on anyone who's not from Japan. Like they're the only ones who can get cholera. It's the same as saying Kung Flu. And so I didn't really want to side with them. But it doesn't matter if I don't want to side with them, because they're going to win no matter what. And it did kind of bum me out a little bit, because I honestly thought that the pro-isolationists were kind of dicks, especially the leader. God, I can't remember his fucking name. But, like, he's super racist. And I'm like, man, this is the guy that's going to win. It kind of took the wind out of my sails. It also bums me out that the first waifu in the game, the geisha, she dies no matter what. And I understand she had to die because it's a historical thing that happened, but it's like the first love interest you set up, the one that like you pretty much want all players to go for, fucking dies. Yeah, that is true. But they're dicks about it. And they're not trying to change their culture. They're just trying to like open up the borders and trade with them. Like they're trying to include Japan on the world stage. Which I think is a good thing. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. To me, it doesn't come across like they're trying to change their culture. They're trying to include Japan in the rest of the world. On top of which, they basically just want things to stay the same to keep the caste system. And that's one of the things, I love the samurai, don't get me wrong, I don't like the Japanese caste system. It's basically like having a monarchy. So I'm kind of down with the people who are saying, oh, you weren't born to be a samurai? Well, then you'll never amount to anything. And on top of which, you know, the leader of the rebels, I keep forgetting his name. Fuck, it bothers me. Because he's a historical figure. he basically thinks that anyone who's Western is a piece of shit. Like, doesn't matter if they're trying to change Japan, he's like, you're not from Japan? Then I fucking hate you. And like, dude, that's like just straight up racism. Like, that's the reason why I never sided with the Stormcloaks in fucking Skyrim. It's like, if you're not a Nord, they basically think you can eat a dick. And it's like, I always play like as a Khajiit, and I'm like, they're super racist. Like, I understand not wanting to go on with the Thalmor. What's up?
It's me, can you...
What?
I said, it's me, can you go?
Yeah, just give me a few minutes and I'll go, Mom.
Alright,
I'll be right.
Wait.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like, the Stormcloaks are just super racist. Anyone who's not a Nord is a piece of shit to them. So it's like, I'm a Khajiit. I almost always play the Khajiit because I'm a cat person. You give me a chance to play a fucking cat, I'm gonna play a cat. And it's like, I'm gonna help over Stormcloak who thinks I'm literally a mangy cur? Who make, like, his people are making racist comments about me? Fuck that. Like, you guys suck. And I also just think that Ulfric Stormcloak really is a massive douchebag. Like, I honestly think him as a character is super douchey. Plus, if you actually pay attention to the lore of Skyrim, the Thalmor actually want the Civil War to happen. Okay? They're actually helping Ulfric because his Civil War keeps the Skyrim not unified. So, like, Ulfric Stormcloak is unknowingly playing into the Thalmor's hands. They don't want the Empire being strong. They want them divided. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Ulfric is like the leader of the Stormcloaks. Yeah.
If it isn't my number one fan.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something I like about Skyrim. They don't make either side totally good or totally bad. You know, it would have been easy to make a good guy and a bad guy. They don't do that. They give each side pros and cons. So, props to them for not just saying, oh, here's the good guy, here's the bad guy. Like, there's nuances. Each side, you know, has good stuff, each side has bad stuff. So you can see Armin either way. It's just like I said, I'm pretty much always going to play Skyrim as a Khajiit or a Dark Elf, and I'm not going to help the side that's racist to me. It's like, oh yeah, no, let me help over Stormcloak so they can continue to make fun of me. It's like, you guys are assholes. It's like, I'm not going to help you. It's like, I'm going to help the people that are going to be racist to me? No. Yeah. Meanwhile, the main guy is stuck in the middle. Fuck, what's his name? Ryoma? I think that's his name? Like, he genuinely seems to see, like, the fucking folly of both sides and just wants things to be chill. And they do a great job of showing his reluctance You know, like he's just like, yeah, I want Japan to be self-sufficient, and then like you burn down a church building, and he's like, okay, so he's like, we're burning our own people's shit. Like that's when he shifts. He's like, we are not helping. He's like, well, we're teaching outside. He's like, by burning our hospital? Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying.
To make merry of his puppet's little escapades. When we have
Where's mine?
yet. Such suffering.
God damn, he's giving him just need him.
Same as all of us, after all.
Yeah, the game actually, I will agree with you. The game has a frankly fucking crazy arsenal of weapons. Guns, rifles, bayonets, revolvers, muskets, katanas, kasurigama, you can even get like outsider weapons like French Legion swords, English sabers. The sheer amount of like weapon variety in Rise of the Ronin is insane. Like I said, I don't think I've ever played a game that had more weapon types in it. Because I thought it was just going to be... I thought it was just going to be, you know, the same weapon types as in Neo or whatever. And it is, but it's a lot more than that too. Like, I was fine with it just being Neo's weapon types. I'm like, wow, there's so many weapon types in this game. So, you know, that's fantastic. Like I said, I like Rise of the Ronin. It just, the performance issues really held it back for me. And made it hard for me to enjoy it. I really struggle to enjoy games with bad frame rates. Like, I'm not a graphics whore. I'm not, like, demanding that the budget be super high. But if the game runs like shit, it really bothers me. And like I said, I was even like, okay, it can't hit 60, I'll play 30. I'm like, oh no, it's dipped below 32 on the performance mode. Like, there's no stable way to play the game. And they kept patching it, and I'm like, please tell me they fix the performance. Okay? And on top of which, I don't... Rise of the Ronin is not a graphically impressive game. Okay? Graphics are not everything, and I definitely don't, you know, shit on him like other people do, but it also makes the frame rate drops less excusable to me, because at least if a game is really pretty, you can say, well, it runs like shit, but it really pushes the graphics. For me, it's like Rise of the Ronin isn't even that graphically demanding and still runs like shit. And that made me less tolerating of it. And that just really held me back, especially because, you know, the combat in Rise of the Ronin is great. I agree with you. But it's also a game where you really need the frame rate to be higher. You know, that's a game where missing a dodge is the difference between beating a boss and losing. So that's one of the games where the frame rate kind of matters. You know, there are some games where the frame rate doesn't matter as much, and you can get away with it. But in a game like that, you really need the frame rate to be awesome. You know, and then people are like, well, if you just wait, they're gonna fix it for PS5 Pro. No, they should fix it on the base PS5, okay? I don't think it's a question of they can't get it running. I think it's a question of bad optimization. Okay? There are plenty of games that look way better graphically that run at a lock 60. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima. And Ghost of Tsushima basically runs at almost like a native 4K. So, like, technically speaking, it was fucking on the money. So, you know, and that's what I'm just saying, like, they need to fix it on the base platform. I honestly think they can get it running at 60 on the basic. Like, it's not a game that needs the PS5 Pro to run good. And that's like a cop-out that I don't think people should be saying, because that's basically giving them a pass. They should fix it on the base consoles. One or 2 months ago. They've updated patches. They've updated it since then.
The seed of doubt had been sprouted in my heart. A welcome sight.
And they did update it, but I kept checking and they just said nothing about performance. They added new mission types, which is cool. They added like a new harder difficulty if you're into that. And that's great. I'm glad they're adding new content, but they didn't. From what I've seen, none of the patches have improved the performance noticeably. And it's just, that's another problem with Rise of the Ronin. It's such a big game, data size wise, like over 100 gigs, that I can't really keep it on my system. You know what I mean? For long periods of time, I can't just like keep it. I have to, when I'm done playing it, I pretty much delete it. So it's like, I can't just hop in. Like if I'm gonna fucking install it, I've gotta, wait a while. So it's not something I can just frequently check. And okay, so here's a similar example. I might have to give it a try then, because if the performance is good now, I will probably replay the game. Like I said, I like the game. We'll see. I'll have to try it out. I'm just really susceptible to frame rate drops. I always have been. Like I can pick them out by eye really easily. Alright, I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to be back in a little bit. I got to go get my mom's medicine. I should be back within an hour. I'll probably message in the Discord, but I've got to get my mom's medicine.